63. I've enjoyed, I hope that you have, this series, this look in the book of Psalms. We've looked at Psalm 1, we've looked at Psalm 8, we've looked at Psalm 23, and then the week before last we looked at Psalm 32, and now we are looking at Psalm 63. And the title of the message this morning is The Satisfaction of Seeking God. We're going to read our verses here, it's just 11 verses, but what got me thinking about this, and you're going to, as we read it, I want you to think about what the psalmist here is saying. And if you'll notice the superscription in your Bible, some of you if you have a hard copy of your Bible, what does it say? Somebody tell me, and I'm asking for participation here. What does it say at the top? After it says Psalm 63 and before verse 1, what does it say? A psalm of what? Where? In the wilderness. A psalm of David in the wilderness. So we're going to set the stage for you here in just a little bit, but notice what the situation that David is in as he's writing this. Verse 1, O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. To see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. Because thy loving kindness, I love this phrase, by the way, thy loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches, because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion for foxes. But the king shall rejoice in God. Everyone that sweareth by him shall glory. But the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. As I was reading and thinking about this passage this morning, or the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you, there was a story in my own life that kind of made me think of this. There was a time, and it's probably happened more than once, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of a glutton for punishment when it comes to things like that. There was a day one time that I don't remember the day, and I believe we were in Hamilton at the time. I was a youth pastor. It's probably happened since I've been here in the last 10 years. But there was a day I'd been gone all day in meetings or something, and I was away from home, so I wasn't able to come home to eat lunch, and I really hadn't eaten breakfast, and I didn't know what time I was going to be home for supper, and I was just starving. And I remember stopping at a convenience store to get gas, and you know, you've been there before, right? You go into the convenience store, and you're starving, and there's nothing of substance there for the most part, right? And you're going down the aisle, and instead of going for something that might actually could fill you up, I don't know about you, my mind goes to the candy aisle. And the one thing that I love more than anything, and my wife doesn't like, so I don't get them near as much as what I would like, is like Sour Patch Kids. And vividly, I remember that it was the watermelon Sour Patch Kids, okay? And I don't know, I'm not a huge watermelon candy fan, but I love these things. And I just remember this thing, in my mind, that was going to hit the spot, right? I'm just, my stomach, you feel like you're wasting away. I hadn't eaten in like 5 hours, whatever. And I just knew I needed something to get on my stomach. And so I think I grabbed a drink, and I grabbed these watermelon Sour Patch Kids, and I bought them. I got back in the car. Before I made it home, I'd eaten the entire bag, right? I was just going to eat a few of them. The entire bag's gone. And I remember pulling into the driveway, and I remember thinking to myself, or what I remember is my stomach starting to ache, right? And so instead of feeling better, instead of feeling full or fulfilled or satisfied, I realized in that moment those gummy worms had not satisfied me at all. They only had made me feel worse, right? Now, some of you probably been in that same situation in other things with things that you just want at the time that you think are going to hit the spot, but they don't hit the spot like you do. But here's what I think this is. I think this is a picture of what I could say is the human condition. You say, what do you mean by this? Everybody knows something is missing. Everybody does. Whether they like to admit it or not, everybody knows that something is missing. Everybody feels at some point in their lives some emptiness, a longing, as to use the words that David used, a thirst of something. You know something is missing. So what do? We search for something. We search for anything. Anything that promises satisfaction. And by the way, that is our world to a T, trying to fill that void, that emptiness, with thing after thing after thing, hoping that it's going to just scratch that itch, hoping that it's going to give us what we're looking for. Even Solomon, you remember, of course, wrote Ecclesiastes, and he talks about that, all the things he spent his life doing, trying to satisfy that longing when he realized it all was emptiness, it all was vanity. And so we chase money, and we chase success, and we chase relationships, and we chase pleasure and possessions and recognition and entertainment. And let's just be honest, we even chase religion if we're not careful, thinking those things are going to fill that void because they promise fulfillment, but they always leave us wanting more. Now, I hesitated to quote this guy because he unfortunately did not finish well in his ministry, but he has done a lot for me in my life in reading some of his books. But Ravi Zacharias has written a lot of books about defending the faith and the apologetics of what it means to be a Christian. Here's what he said. I think it's so good. He said, the loneliest moment in life is when you have experienced what you thought would deliver the ultimate, and it has let you down. Now think about that. The loneliest moment in your life is when you think you've experienced what this has to be it, and then you realize it's not. It's a lonely moment. Well, how about this? Even 1,600 years earlier, Augustine wrote, you have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. That's a good truth. Well, David understood that truth. And Psalm 63 was written, as many of you told me, your superscription, when he was in the wilderness of Judah. Most likely, David is fleeing from his son Absalom. You go back and read in 2 Samuel about all this. But imagine the scene. David is no longer this young shepherd that we talked about in Psalm 23. He's no longer the young shepherd defeating Goliath. Now he's an aging king whose own son has stolen the hearts of Israel. And he has crossed the Kidron Valley. He's barefoot, if you will, and he's weeping. He's left behind his palace. He's left behind his throne. He's left behind the tabernacle. He's left behind some of his closest friends, and he doesn't know if he'll ever return. Yet, as this is written, instead of asking for God to remove the wilderness, that's what we would have probably said, right? Notice what he says. He asks for God himself. He doesn't say, God, change my circumstances. He's asking for more of him. And I think that's what makes this psalm so remarkable, because most of us think that satisfaction comes when our circumstances improve, right? I can truly be satisfied when those things, when whatever situation I'm in improves, then I'll be at rest. But here's what David teaches us, and we're going to dive right in. David teaches us that true satisfaction comes when God becomes our greatest treasure. When you want more of God than anything else, you will be satisfied. And the soul that treasures God above everything else can find satisfaction anywhere, even in the wilderness. So where does David begin? Well, again, he doesn't start with his problems. He starts with God. And before he asks for anything, he seeks the presence of God. I want you to notice a few things here this morning. Notice number one, we must pursue God's presence above everything else. Pursue God's presence above everything else. You want to be satisfied no matter the situations you find yourself in, want God more than anything else. Pursue him. We talked about that word pursue not that long ago through the Psalms, right? It's Psalm 23. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the rest of my life. Psalm 23 talks about. Again, that following is the idea of pursuing, not just hanging out, but actively following after. So when we say pursuing God's presence, again, it's not just, well, if he shows up, he shows up. And if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not. No, you are actively following him above everything. So notice what David says. Before David asks for anything from God, he reminds himself of who God is. He says, "Oh God, thou art my God." And I want you to understand, everything else in this psalm we're going to look at stems from that relationship. It's his God. And can I just remind you, Christianity is not merely about knowing God, or how about this, knowing about God. Let's put it that way. It's belonging to God. That's what Christianity is. It's not about knowledge. It's about a relationship. That's what religion says, I know about him. Christianity, or let's just say salvation, says he is my God. And notice how it starts in verse 1. And again, we've already touched on it, but notice we are to seek him personally. We seek him personally. Again, he says, "O God, thou art my God." And understand, faith is personal. God doesn't just merely have admirers. God has children. Again, religion says, I know about God. Salvation says, I know him. I don't know about him, just know about him. I know him. But because he's God, David doesn't seek him casually. Notice that. He's my God. Notice, not does he seek him personally. Number two,